Hey, this is Paul, and I've been growing Aeoniums for over 12 years, and I really like them. They're one of my favorite types of plants. I love them because in Southern California they are winter growers and winter bloomers. They're drought tolerant. There's lots of color and variation and sizes, and they take from cuttings easily, which is another huge benefit. You could trade them with your friends, or I go to succulent swap tables that are local and trade. You can grow them indoors, you can grow them in pots, just a really versatile, beautiful succulent.
Hey Paul, what's that plant?
This is an Aeonium Arboreum black, wait, what is it? How do I say it? Black rose, or they call it the Zwartkop, I think is how you say it, but I know it is a black rose Aeonium. There's tons of different varieties of Aeoniums, but this one, it's always black in the center. So you can see this is the middle of July. This is actually kind of a mother plant. I've had this a long time, and I take a lot of cuttings off of it. Or sometimes somebody may back the car into it and I'll take some pieces from that, but it's definitely a great one. It does really well. I recommend if you're going to plant this plant to put it next to rocks or something light covered to really show it, because it will really kind of hide in the yard. It's so dark. But as you can see, there's just a ton of little Aeonium rosettes forming. And again, you can see that this is really the driest part of the year. I just wanted to kind of show this one because they really kind of look almost like alien-like when they're kind of starved of water and the heat. You can see they really clump up and close up, drop a ton of leaves. So this thing is native to the Canary Islands. It will grow 3 to 4 feet tall, hardy to 25 degrees, and it flowers. A giant blossom comes out, and it's a big yellow bloom. A lot of nectar-eating creatures come and feed off of the blooms. It blooms probably about, I'd say, April or May in Southern California. But a great Aeonium. We have a bunch more coming your way. We have some tricolors, but it's definitely a plant I really like and just love how unique they are. So the black rose Aeonium. So here's a first for our channel here. What plant is that, Paul? Well, this plant here is the red striped pinwheel. That's one name, also known as Aeonium decorum, or also known as Aeonium berry nice. I'll put a link on the history of this plant below, and basically a quick summary is that some people with the last name Berries brought this to some orchid festival in 2007, somewhere like in Huntington Beach or something. But anyways, they have this really unique plant, and now it's starting to pop up at nurseries. So what's unique about it is this Aeonium will only grow about 1 foot tall, but it will spread 2 to 4 feet. And when I bought it, it was much more red in the summer. And as you can see, we've gotten some rain, and I keep it in a really light sun area just to see how it adjusts to our area, our climate. But I think I'm going to give it more sun because it's just going crazy. But all the new growth is just a regular green, really pretty. Unique Aeonium in my opinion, really waxy. They say it's hardy to about 32 to 29 degrees, so that's why I have it in a pot, just to make sure that it doesn't die from the frost. And so I hope to get a lot more cuttings. I'm going to test it out, see how it does in the yard. But what's so unique about this cool Aeonium, Aeonium decorum, is that when I bought it, it had these bright stripes on all the leaves just like that, a lot of red, and it was really pretty, and then it just exploded. I think I got this in August, so it's only been 4 months. So definitely recommend this Aeonium decorum, Aeonium berry nice, and we'll probably shoot an episode again if it blooms. I hear the blossoms are pink. And it's just, this thing's taking off. I've never seen Aeonium grow so quickly in such a short amount of time. You may or may not be wondering, what plant is that, Paul? And that is an Aeonium Sunburst. It's a very beautiful succulent native to the Canary Islands. It's hardy to 30 to 28 degrees, most say, but does really well here in our climate in inland Southern California here. And what's funny about this plant here is that it came from a CRESTED variety, which is kind of like a mutated form. and I'll show you its mother plant soon. So what's cool about this, it's again native to the Canary Islands. It's a very showy Aeonium. It will die after it flowers. It's a monocot, and what they say is some say it flowers white, some say it flowers yellow. I have not seen yet any of these that we have flower, but after the rains here, it's beginning of the new year here, and you can see it's just doing really well. So these I just pulled off of, again, a crested variety Aeonium, and I'll be showing that in our next video. So what else can I say about these? They grow 1 to 2 feet, so I think they'll get bigger personally, but we'll have to see. And they do really well from cuttings, pretty tolerant to not a lot of water, and also they will tolerate quite a bit of water. As you can see here, it's really bright, but there's overspray from our lawn here, and these guys enjoy it, as you can see. I know what you're thinking. This may be just another Sunburst Aeonium video on YouTube, but you're wrong. On What Plant Is That, Paul? Today we're going to talk about something that there isn't much information on. This is actually a Sunburst Aeonium, and this is a crested variety. You'll start to see a lot of these popping up in Southern California at local nurseries. They charge quite a bit, $10 to $15 for a tiny piece. But what's so special about this is one of the mother plants that is, oh man, it must be about 7 to 8 years old, I'd say. But as you can see, there's a regular Sunburst Aeonium, and you could cut that there and it will grow just like a regular one. But there's also the crested variety, which means flat. So these are native to the Canary Islands. This is a mutation, from what I'm told, and like I said, there isn't much information about it, but these are definitely selling like hotcakes, because whoever created this or found it or whatever, however it mutated, it's just kind of spread throughout a lot of nurseries, and it does so well in Southern California's climate that it will just dominate. So here it is. Here's the crested variety. I cut this piece off, and you can see there is actually a regular Aeonium Sunburst right there. So if I cut that off, it would grow just like a regular one. And then there's also the flat crested. So definitely a very cool and unique plant on our plant list. Definitely makes it. So let's see, it's native to the Canary Islands. It's hardy to about 25 degrees. It's just like a regular Sunburst Aeonium. However, as you can see, it's just very, very unique. So very flat and awesome. I mean, it grows, this one is about 2 feet, I'd say, and they say they don't grow much taller, but I think this thing will keep going. I've never seen it bloom, and it's just actually a couple plants here, and these are cuttings from I got at a local nursery in Escondido before it closed down. So definitely on the cool plant list. One of my favorite plants, and I've given a lot of pieces away. It does really well if you want to take cuttings. It'll break sometimes because it gets a little heavy, and you'll just plant it in the soil. It does well. So just the other day, Scott asked me, what plant is that, Paul? And I told him, well, Scott, we've actually done an episode on a plant similar to this. It's the black Aeonium Cyclops, and as you can see, this is a hybrid of two. Some guy named Jack Catlin, I think, in Huntington Beach, came up with this hybrid in the mid-90s, 94. And so it has a bit of the black. It kind of looks more like a red, and then it's mixed with an Aeonium from the Canary Islands. I'm not quite sure which one, but either way, it looks like a really healthy Aeonium that we've gotten over 2 inches of rain this season, and as you can see, this thing's doing really well. What I like about this Aeonium that seems different is, one, it's a hybrid. It's native to the Canary Islands. It doesn't grow as tall. It'll grow, they say, 2 to 3 feet. I think I've had this like 5 years, and you can see it's doing really well. It's really dense. I've taken at least a dozen cuttings, given them to friends, and planted it throughout the yard. And at times of the year it'll look really green like this when it gets a lot of water, and the burgundy color will be on the tips, but in the summer it kind of changes to where it has a lot more red and a lot less green as it dries up. And so what it will do, it will actually, in the summer, it will look a bit drier and kind of closed up like that, more like rosettes. But it doesn't lose as many leaves as the other Aeoniums. So it kind of looks better in the summer, I'd say, than others that really kind of shrivel up and look alien-like. So you can find these in a lot of places. It's similar to Aeonium escondido. I've seen a few called that. They look pretty much the same to me. The Aeonium escondido I saw just had a bit more purple. But either way, this succulent's really awesome, does really well. You can grow it full sun, part sun, even indoors. It will make the yellow flowers like the Aeonium, the tree Aeonium, or the green one. And I haven't seen any pests. I mean, this thing has one dripper on it, and it's right next to the driveway. Gets some heat from the driveway in the summer, and it still does really well. So I definitely would recommend this plant. It is on the cool plant list. As you can see, it's really beautiful and really easy to care for. Frost doesn't seem to bother it much at all. So definitely I would recommend this Aeonium. Aeonium Plum Purdy, which means very pretty, I believe. Alright, beautiful morning here in October. And today on this episode of What Plant Is That, Paul? We're going to talk about Aeoniums and dormancy. So right here in this little section of our yard, you can see there are many Aeoniums in all different states of dormancy. So starting up here is Blushing Beauty. You can see it's not too dormant versus this variety, which is Aeonium escondido. And here's Starburst Aeonium, Sunburst Aeonium, excuse me. I got candy on my mind. And you can see anyways, like the Sunburst Aeoniums, they tend to burn their outer leaves and they are not quite as dormant as other varieties. Now let's walk up the hill here and I'll show you something pretty cool. So this one is Aeonium Plum Purdy. Gets a lot of heat from the driveway, and you can see it is not as dormant as some of the others, where we want to start comparing some more extreme examples. This is Aeonium urbicum. It gets really dormant, tiny little rosettes. Beautiful, mature plant. And what else do we have here? Here is the most extreme, I would say. So this variety gets a lot of sun. You can see it's very tiny rosettes here. And I would say that is a very dormant Aeonium. Don't need to water them much. They won't really take much water. And just leave them alone until they open up. But the interesting thing is that I find about Aeoniums in San Diego County or Southern California, you can see that next to a water source, like a sprinkler in this case, I pulled this out from our lawn, next to our lawn, you can see that is not a dormant Aeonium at all. It's huge. And so you can take cuttings from that, it's going to do fine, and it is very happy. This variety gets a bit more sun. This is Aeonium Very Nice. So you can see it bronzes on the outside. I would say this is it is dormant in a way. I would not do much with this until it's fully green again in a few months. Alright, let's show you next to the lawn now, and you can see Aeoniums that are definitely not dormant and they are year-round active. I'll show you. Okay, so all of these Aeoniums get overspray from the lawn every other day. So I would say the ones on the left here in the foreground are definitely a bit in dormancy. They get a bit more sun here. Now this crested variety, it is in dormancy a little bit, I would say, but it's very happy. Along with these examples as well. Now if I walk a bit more to where it gets a bit more overspray, and it's under a beautiful jacaranda tree, well, the Aeoniums over there are totally, I would say, active, not dormant. So they get a lot of shade, a lot of overspray, and they're really, really happy. So definitely in Southern California, different microclimates, I would say, affect Aeoniums and their states of dormancy. Also, the variety is important as well. So many factors, but Aeoniums are very cool. I like them a lot. So you may or may not be wondering, what plant is that, Paul? And let me tell you, that is an Aeonium that came out of nearby Vista, California. It is Aeonium Mardi Gras. So it's a native to the Canary Island. It's a hybrid, I believe, is of a tricolor, a few different Aeoniums. But either way, it's hardy to do about 25 to, I'd say, 30 degrees, or around 28 should do fine. We had a frost here the other day, about a week ago. You can see it's doing really well, this little specimen. It is patented, Aeonium Mardi Gras, by Renee O'Connell, I believe, out of Altman Farms. Altman Farms, and she came up with this beautiful Aeonium. And as you can see, it's definitely got some sunburst, Aeonium Sunburst in it, and then it fades to red. So as you can see, greenish and then to red leaves, and it's going to get more red as it gets colder here this time of year. So beautiful Aeonium. It hasn't split yet, but either way, it's patented and you're not authorized to split these or propagate them, I guess. So what else can I tell you? Native to Canary Islands, 28 degrees, I'd say, would do fine. As they say, 25 to 30 degrees. Grows about 2 to 3 feet. I'm excited to see this thing grow and get tall. I believe the flowers will be yellow. I'm not quite sure, but either way, it's doing really great in this, I'd say 3/4 of the day. Gets sun in this part of our yard, and as you can see, we have several nearby Aeoniums. Here's a Sunburst, green Aeonium, black rose. Here is another Mardi Gras Aeonium, and there is a crested Sunburst, and over here we have a few more. Aeonium Escondido, I believe that one is, and Aeonium Plum Purdy on the left there. So either way, this will grow and develop to a really cool Aeonium, but the star of our show today is the Aeonium Mardi Gras. So again, really excellent succulent. It's on the cool plant list for sure. And give us a like and a subscribe. We have more Aeoniums and plenty of more succulents and drought-tolerant plants coming up in future episodes. So have a great day, and consider having Aeonium Mardi Gras join your yard. Hello everybody. This is What Plant Is That, Paul? And I am Paul, and I'm showing you something that was pretty funny, at least in my opinion, is that I showed you this Aeonium I don't know, a couple months ago maybe, and talked about how I'd never seen a sunburst Aeonium bloom, and these things were growing profusely, and as you can see now, this one decided to bloom. So in the past, it's changed a lot. So the flowers, as I can see, are not so much white. They're not really yellow. They're a lot different than other Aeoniums that we have or have grown. You can see here, just really unique, beautiful little flowers. And also I noticed that the pink on the leaves is much more pronounced. So this Aeonium Sunburst is a cutting from a crested variant, and now it is in bloom. So I have no idea what's going to happen. Is this thing going to die completely? Is it going to continue to grow little new growth? Because I thought I could see, if you look in there, it's like there's some little new pups, I guess you could say, growing off of there. So I'm just gonna let it do its thing. I've never seen the Sunburst in 10 years I've been growing these. I've never seen this Sunburst Aeonium bloom, except for now. So there you go. I just thought I'd shoot a really short video just to show you how beautiful this bloom is. And again, this Aeonium Sunburst is just stellar. There's just something really unique about it. So, oh, sorry. Let's try to hide the afternoon sun. So this one did not bloom yet, and it did get a lot more pink in the past few weeks. And then again, this beautiful, beautiful bloom. This plant is native to the Canary Islands. It's pretty frost hardy. It'll take 30, 20, mid-20s. This thing survived some upper 20s this year, and you can see it's fine. So again, give us a like and a subscribe, but I just thought it was kind of funny, at least to me, because Bam, by the way, in case I forget. But I just thought it was funny that I said I'd never seen them bloom, and this was in the video a few weeks ago, this plant, and in about 3 weeks or 2 weeks, I'd say, it went from nothing looking like it wasn't going to bloom at all to this. So give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we will keep them coming. And I will see what happens with this plant in a few more weeks and just see kind of what happens. Will it all die, or will it continue to thrive? You're watching What Plant Is That, Paul? In this episode, you may be thinking it's just another Aeonium video, and you're partially right. But what makes this one so cool is that this is the dinner plate Aeonium. I haven't had it long. It's relatively new here. From what I've never heard of it before, but it is native to the Canary Islands, and it will grow 2 to 3 feet tall, 1 to 2 feet wide. And what's different from other Aeonium videos that we've had so far is you can see the size. This will get, I'd say, close to 2 feet, nice and flat from what I've seen. This dinner plate Aeonium Urbicum, and it's hardy to 25 degrees, 30 to 25 degrees, like typical Aeonium. And you can see it's definitely a bit more glossy, the leaves, a little whiter, and kind of that interesting little tip on the leaf there. Makes it a little bit unique compared to other Aeoniums that we have here. So it will spread out, get nice and wide. It's really windy today, sorry. And it's already popping out little pups. So you can see I'm going to get a lot of cuttings off of this plant. Got this at the local Home Depot. It was like 12 bucks. So definitely a cool plant. Aeonium Urbicum, the dinner plate Aeonium. And if you look online, you can see really how big and large these flat rosettes will get compared to other Aeoniums. So this is in a part sun environment, as you can see. It will get afternoon sun, and this will be shady for half the day. So I'm going to kind of redo this part of the yard. I probably should do an episode on that in the future, but I just put this in the soil for now to kind of let it take off. It's a really quick grower. It will make yellow flowers like other green Aeoniums, and the roots will hang as it gets taller. So give us a like and a subscribe. We'll keep them coming. But we have several more Aeoniums coming up in future episodes. So this one, the dinner plate Aeonium, is definitely special. We'll get nice and flat and look like a dinner plate. This is Paul, and you're looking at my Aeonium Cyclops. Now this is also known as a giant red Aeonium, and it's known for this green eye. If you can see, it has a green eye with reddish bronze leaves around it. It's a hybrid created by Jack Catlin, and he crossed Aeonium undulatum with Aeonium Arboreum Zwartkop, the black variety. And the Cyclops has more of a green eye. He also created a voodoo, which is like a solid dark color, and it grows a little bit larger. Now, I have several Aeoniums. I must have 30 or so, but this one I bought last year, and it was just a single head, and you can see how fast it will grow. This time of year, they just dominate Southern California, and you can see they do get a bit of snail damage. Now, I do grow these in soil as long as it's well draining, and I like to amend it with like Kellogg's potting soil, where I create my own soil with pumice, vermiculite, and perlite. They seem to do pretty well with that. So you can see it's just really a beautiful time of year for these. You can many of these will get heavy since all the rain and kind of drop, and then you'll have multiple cuttings. Now they will go dormant in the summer as they get full sun. They do well in a part sun environment as well, and you can grow them in a pot. So this one is really hard to tell. I have so many varieties, but Cyclops, the leaves will be a little bit more like wavy in my opinion than say like a Plum Purdy, which is like this variety, which is very similar, you can tell. So they're very, very similar. So many of these Aeonium varieties, they can also be different too. So you can see here, and they'll have similar care requirements. This is Aeonium Sunburst. I can't remember the name of this one offhand. I have it written down somewhere. Stunning. And this one back here is called Aeonium Blushing Beauty. You can see it has little kind of pink tips on the outside of the plant. Only the outer leaves, I should say. So anyways, sorry, back to Aeonium Cyclops. From this vantage point you can see kind of is like a cyclops. And just beware of the snail damage. The snails love eating their leaves this time of year. And again, it's hardy to 25 degrees, will grow 4 to 5 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. It is native to the Canary Islands. However, this is a hybrid created by Jack Catlin. He created a lot of different Aeonium hybrids. So there you go, Aeonium Cyclops, one of my favorite Aeonium varieties. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk about a bit of a more rare Aeonium I have in our yard. This is the bicolor Aeonium. Now its proper name is Aeonium Arboreum Variegata, and it's smaller and has thinner leaves and smaller rosettes in general, and it's a bit more sensitive than your traditional Aeonium Arboreum, or something similar would be a Sunburst Aeonium, which is a tricolor. It has pink on the edges, so you can see this one is just a bicolor with two beautiful colors. There's a very similar variety that's bigger and thicker called Variegata, and that also will have some pink on the tips. So this one is a bit more uncommon. Now you see, if you saw our other video, we'll put a link here, you should check it out. It's our Aeonium variety tour, and I talk about snail damage. You can see that this variety does get a bit of snail damage, as most Aeoniums do in the winter and spring in Southern California. Now what I like about what I call this the bicolor Aeonium, but what I like about this bicolor plant is the variation on the rosettes. You can see this one's very pale green and a bit of a cream or white on the edges, versus this one has very different. So each rosette's kind of unique, like a fingerprint, and that's something I really like about this plant. And it's just a bit more sensitive. It does not tolerate full sun in Southern California. It likes a part sun environment, and it's really stunning. So I have it under a jacaranda tree and some bamboo, and it gets only filtered sun, honestly, all day, maybe an hour of direct sunlight in the afternoon. But you can see it's really happy, hardy to 25 degrees. These Aeoniums in general, this is a unpatented hybridization, but Aeoniums are generally from the Canary Island area, if I remember right. And this one supposedly online said it had no seeds. It produces no seeds, and it also is sterile. So that's one of the drawbacks for Aeoniums hybrids, I guess. And you can see soil requirements. It prefers well-draining soil. It's on this wall here, and it gets overspray from the lawn. And I've added palm and cactus mix with perlite and pumice. You can see I took care of a snail there. That's the one thing that you got to really worry about this variety. It seems like the snails just love it. So there you go. Give us a like and a subscribe. Here's our bicolor Aeonium, and it's also known, its proper name I should say, is Aeonium Arboreum Variegata. Hey everybody, this is Paul, and this is Aeonium Blushing Beauty. Now believe it or not, these are the same plant. One is grown in full sun, the one on the right, and the one on the left is grown in shade. Now this is a member of the stonecrop family, native to the Canary Islands, produces yellow flowers, and it's a cross between, look at these, I have each in my yard. This photo here is the green Aeonium canariensis, and this black one here is Aeonium Arboreum Cyclops. And so these two were mixed, and look at what they produced. It's amazing. So they'll grow 1 to 2 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide, and they are produced by Jack Catlin in 1976. And he says they grow more red when you grow them hard. They blush more when grown hard. So there you go. You can see that's growing hard in full sun, and here's shade. So they still do get a little bit of blushing on some of the leaves in shade, and as summer comes along, these ones will get a bit more blushing, but you can see it's unbelievable. They almost look They don't even look like they're the same variety, but believe me, I got these off of the same plant here. So pretty amazing. Aeonium Blushing Beauty. I really like this Aeonium, and I recommend growing them hard like he recommends, and that means growing them in full sun or don't give them too much water, especially when they go dormant. Now they will close up more in the summertime, and they're very, very striking and beautiful. So they do tend to form tight rosettes or clusters here, you can see. They like to kind of do that, and then last year a bunch fell off when it got hot, and so now I have lots of pups. So again, this is Aeonium Blushing Beauty. Grow it hard in full sun, you'll get some really stunning colors. Good morning, this is Paul, and thanks for checking out Aeonium haworthii Kiwi. Now, these are native to Morocco, but this is actually an unknown hybrid. And they're also called Dream Color or Variegata. I've seen some other names, tricolor. But they are usually tricolored, and mine just does not get enough sun. I keep it in full shade, so it just doesn't have the pink on there, but it will get it in the summertime. During this winter time when it's just growing like crazy, you can see almost just look like plain variegated Aeonium haworthii. So you can see here's some variability if you grow them in more sunlight. They look a bit different, but I really like growing them in a shady environment for that different look. It's just, to me, it's unique, and they're really stunning little petite plants. Now they will grow 2 to 3 feet in time, tall, and 1 to 2 feet wide. Now soil, they're gonna like well-draining soil. You can grow them in native soil in Southern California, at least where I live, but I prefer to grow them in pots. They seem to grow a bit better, in my humble opinion. You can even grow them indoors. Just make sure it's well-draining, sandy, loomy type of soil. Let that soil dry out in between waterings. If you water it too much, it's definitely gonna rot. And they are winter growers in our climate, zone 9B, San Diego. Just a really beautiful, beautiful plant. Really easy to propagate from a cutting. I wouldn't take something too small like this. I'd probably take something larger like this one and cut it down here, right about there, or on the side, one of these branches. Let it callus over, and you'll have plenty more of these beautiful little Aeoniums. I've never seen them flower, but they do have yellow flowers that are infrequent in my opinion, and it will be like a death bloom. These are monocarpic plants, so when they bloom, the mother branch will die. But you'll have plenty of pups, so you'll be okay. So there you go, give us a like and a subscribe, and hopefully you could go and check out some of our other videos on Aeoniums. You can see that I really, really enjoy them. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but look at this little guy. It's an unknown one, but it's crested. So crested Aeoniums are even more beautiful, which means it's flat here, see? Very different stem. Hey everybody, this is Paul, and today I'm going to talk about Aeonium care and propagation. Now there's way more than 35 species of Aeoniums. There's so many hybrids now. You can see just some of the varieties here in front of you. Most are native to the Canary Islands, and they thrive in zones 9 to 11. Now they have fleshy rosettes. You can see the different types, or they could be more kind of like a succulent here. I can't remember the name of this variety offhand, but you can see it's similar, but definitely this one is more, I would put this in more full sun. Here's another similar variety to what I just showed you. This is Aeonium Kiwi. And again, this thing can grow in soil or in a pot in Southern California. I'm sure they do well indoors too. I only grow mine outdoors. So as long as you have well-draining soil, look, there's no hole in this, and it almost died in the rain. So what I have to do is I need to drill some holes here. So I'm going to take all these out and save them. So anyways, well-draining soil is key, as you can I hinted at. And in addition, I think of them as like Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears. Is they don't like it too hot, they don't like it too cold, and they don't like it too dry. They will tolerate full sun. You can see I pulled this one out of a full sun because I wanted to get this lovely kind of coloring here. It would be more green in the shade. Now that variety is called Berry Nice, and again I have this in a 3/4 day sunlight in a pot because I wanted to get more color. Now under here, in these areas here, these varieties are always grown in shade under a canopy. So you can see how happy they are this time of year. It's in spring in Southern California. And I'll show you some more about care and on a variety walk and propagation. But before we head out here, I want to remind you that there's basically 3 types. The green type on the left there is the Aeonium Arboreum. There's different variations I'll show you, and then there's going to be ones like here on the right, the common, it's commonly known as an Arboreum atroperpetuum, I believe, if I remember correctly. Now their common names could be Plum, Purdy, or Aeonium escondido. We have some different varieties. Down here, the one that looks overexposed is a Aeonium Sunburst, which often will crest. So let's go explore some more varieties and talk about care. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about care. Now, the first thing I've learned in the past 10 years of growing Aeoniums is if you want them to look really beautiful, you grow them under a canopy. Now, excuse the lighting, but you can see that these receive quite a bit of shade, especially during the summer. So also, if you look on the left, they get a lot of overspray from the lawn during the summer months. So those combinations of factors really enable Aeoniums to thrive in Southern California. Now if you grow them in a pot, like this Berry Nice, and again I do grow this one in full sun because I wanted to get much more of that beautiful coloration. I mean, you can see it's one of my favorite. So you can see if you grow it in a pot, make sure you get plenty of well-draining soil. You could get just the basic Kellogg's palm and cactus mix if you want, or you can make your own. And the succulents really like added pumice, vermiculite, and perlite in my experience. But well-draining soil, if you keep it in a pot, this one is full shade in a pot. You can see it does really well. There's a Aeonium Sunburst on the right. This beautiful thing is a tricolor, also known as Mardi Gras. I have several of them, and they'll take up to 3/4 day sun, but they look about the same. This is one of my smaller ones. Now this variety is known as Plum Purdy. Again, it gets full shade. You can see it's really stunning, does really well. They get pretty darn big in a pot, and that is just maybe like 3 gallons. Now here's Aeonium escondido, grown in native soil, but I've amended it. You can see some perlite in the bottom of the frame there. Here's one of the green arboreums, I believe you call it, but I have several. They definitely are different. There's many sub varieties of these. I'll show you one in a bit. But again, under a canopy, they just really thrive. You can see a lot of these have broken off. Some have bloomed or gotten just so heavy this winter, they've broken off. You can see I've amended this soil along the wall with I think it was that Kellogg mix, back when I did this several years ago, and I only added maybe like an, I don't know, 4-inch layer of that material, that soil. So that you can see just this time of year in Southern California is when they thrive. I think this is Aeonium. This is some strange crested variety I have, but they just thrive this time of year in March, April, May into June. before they start to go dormant. Now when you're caring for Aeoniums, this variegated variety is a much slow grower. You can see that when you care for them, you have to be careful because snails especially like to eat your favorite ones, it seems like. So this time of year, you need to keep an eye out on them. Snails tend to be more active after a rain, and they'll just destroy your Aeoniums like nothing. So make sure that you treat them accordingly or take care of them accordingly. I like to take care of them my way. And you can see they just will damage Aeoniums. Also, you could get mealybugs or aphids. I like to spray a bit of neem oil on them, and that usually will solve the problem even with snails. Bummer about that. So you can see they damage quite easily. They are rather tender. They don't suffer much damage from frost though. So let's go over here now. Sorry for the blur, but I have a few special things I'd like to share here. So here's some other varieties, again grown in soil. I did not amend the soil. I left it alone, and you can see they're doing fine. You get some overspray from that sprinkler there. And this is a crested variety of Aeonium. You can see what crested means. It's kind of flattened out. It's a mutation. And sometimes this sunburst crested variety will shoot out a regular non-crested variety too. So super cool. And they're very easy to propagate. We'll talk about that in a minute. You can see just up close kind of what a cutting of this variety looks like. It's just really stunning and flat. Whoa, look at that. It looks like some kind of bug casing or something weird. Alright, so that's a crested variety, which are more rare and more highly sought after. I have several of these, and some are approaching 3 feet. They get pretty big, and they are a bit harder to propagate. Now, what happens about Aeoniums here, or not what happens, but a characteristic is their blooms. So you can see how beautiful their blossoms are. And some people call them death blooms, but I don't really call them death blooms, especially with a big plant like this, because it will still survive, but most of that stalk will die off, and especially with that one too, but not this whole plant, because there's just so many. It's fallen over the years and just rooted itself, so this thing's gonna keep going. But their blooms are very, very stunning, very beautiful, as you can see. One of my favorite things about them. And bees and pollinators really, really enjoy them. So I hope you don't use any systemics on them to hurt the bees. That's not cool. Again, you can see just why I love Aeoniums. So let's go find some more in the yard and we'll talk about propagation. All right. Okay, for propagation here, I recommend propagating them anytime they're not dormant. So basically from a little bit after the first rains until June or July into August if your varieties are in the shade. You can see you don't want to propagate these and plant these in the soil right now when they're wet like that. You're going to get rot and probably not take. Something like this black rose, may be more forgiving if it's wet, but you definitely want to just put them in the shade and let them callus over like this. That's the best method to get them to propagate. You can see it even has little roots growing there. And you just toss them in the soil here. Now I think it's self-explanatory how you pot them, but when you amend the soil here, you can see I added some potting soil right there, about 4 inches, not too much, and that is about all you need. And so you can set them along like a rock, something like that. You can't even set them like that. I've seen them and they'll root, but ideally, I mean, this one's pretty curved. You kind of just want to do something like that. Literally just leave it in the soil, it's gonna do fine. Bury it a little bit, and that's what I would do. Same with this variety, you can do the same. And voila, you're good to go. So pretty simple. You can stake them up if you wanted them up straight. Yeah, I've seen that done as well, but I usually just toss them and they'll do fine. So we'll end on a few more cool varieties here. I think one of these in here is called Cyclops. I'm pretty sure it's this variety. It's really beautiful. Stunning little Aeonium. And I believe sometimes you could get some really beautiful pinks in your sunburst here. You can see. Stunning. This one's really starting to produce multi-heads. Now you can behead some of these varieties and they'll grow back. Others will not grow back. Now let me go show you my favorite one and we'll end this episode. Now I've had this one for about 10 years and it always stays really petite and goes dormant really early. Not sure what variety it is, but it's not my favorite one. I'll show you what it is. This one is pretty cool. But look at how large this giant purple is. So this is probably my favorite one. I've only had it a few months. It's called the giant purple, is what someone told me. And you can see the new growth is just stunning. And I heard this one will get 5 feet. I've seen them get really, really thick. Once or twice I was somewhere, maybe Balboa Park, and I saw one that was huge. So I'm excited to have one of these. It's getting some pups. But again, I've only had this maybe half a year or so. So I can't wait to see what it does in the future.